At 15 seconds, guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9.
It has been nearly 5 decades since the United States claimed to have sent the first group of humans to the moon, beating the Russians in the space race, and sealing their victory in the history books. But when it comes to conspiracy theories, the moon landing is the rock star of the pack.
You're the one who said you walked on the moon when you didn't. Calling the kettle black, if I ever thought of it. Saying I misrepresented myself.
Away from me.
You're a coward and a liar and a thief.
Although most of us were not alive at the time, history tells us that Apollo 11 touched down on the lunar surface on July 20, 1969. Just 7 years after President Kennedy told a crowd of 40,000 people,
"We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard."
Armstrong is on the moon. Neil Armstrong, 38-year-old American.
Astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin would eventually become national heroes for taking what Armstrong called a giant leap for mankind.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Oh, that looks beautiful, Neil. It has a stark beauty all its own. It's like much of the high desert of the United States. It's different, but it's very pretty out here.
An estimated 600 million people watched the moon landing on TV. It was just the kind of feel-good success story the American people needed, considering what was happening in Vietnam at the time. It gave the average citizen hope that the US was still stronger than ever. Since then there have been several documentaries on the subject, not to mention constant internet chatter that almost always seems to unearth new proof the moon landing never really happened. But this conspiracy theory goes far beyond the anecdotal evidence found since the moon landing supposedly happened. From claims that the American flag is actually waving in the wind, which should not be present on the moon. Another claim is that the dark backdrop in the video and images does not show the vast amount of stars that should be visible from the lunar surface. Even the dust being scattered under the lunar capsule during the landing is in question. And just this past year, a report in Newsweek showed someone had discovered what is believed to be a stagehand's reflection in the astronaut's helmet during the supposed 1972 visit to the moon. Since the supposed landing on the lunar surface, several people that were associated with the moon landing missions during the 1960s have come out and said that it was very unlikely astronauts have actually touched down on the moon. Bill Kaysing, who was part of the team who built rocket engines for NASA's Apollo program, said in his book We Never Went to the Moon, America's $30 billion swindle. NASA did not have the technology back then to get astronauts to and from the moon safely. He also said astronauts would have likely died from such a journey, as they would have been forced to pass through dangerous levels of radiation while passing through the Van Allen belts. Contrary to popular belief, this would kill a human in just a few minutes of exposure while passing through the belts. Not to mention the high doses of radiation in several spots over the lunar surface, if they actually made the landing successfully. Before his death in 2005, Kaysing speculated that Armstrong and Aldrin were likely brainwashed by the US military and coerced into playing along with the scam.
So why don't you just put the end to the record in the argument and put your hand on the Bible, swear to God you walked on the moon.
Mr. Cyril, knowing you, that's probably a fake Bible.
Really? Well, no, it's a real Bible.
Theorists also point to the mysterious death of one of NASA's safety inspectors by the name of Thomas Ronald Barron, who not only did he testify before Congress that the space program was doomed from the start, but he also delivered a 500-page report detailing exactly why NASA was never getting to the moon. After his mysterious death, where he was hit by a train and killed instantly, just 1 week after releasing his report, the report vanished, and was never seen or heard about again. Other people either close to the program, or who spoke out about it, either went missing or died suspicious deaths during that time as well. There is much speculation that this silencing of the naysayers was all part of the US government's scheme, to keep the world from realizing that it didn't have the right stuff to play the space game after all. On December 10, 2015, the website yournewswire.com published a video purportedly showing film acclaimed director Stanley Kubrick, who created such groundbreaking films as Dr. Strangelove, 2001, A Space Odyssey, and A Clockwork Orange, had confessed to have helped NASA fake the Apollo moon landings. Filmmaker T. Patrick Murray claimed to have interviewed Kubrick just 3 days before his death in March 1999. Murray says he was then forced to sign an 88-page NDA to keep the contents of the interview a secret for at least the next 15 years. In the interview, Stanley Kubrick confesses his involvement with NASA, saying, "I perpetrated a huge fraud on the American public, involving the United States government and NASA, by helping them fake the 1968 moon landing, and all the supposed moon landings after that as well. And I know this because I was the person who recorded it." Murray asked, "Are you serious?" Kubrick said, "Yes, I'm sorry to say, I'm very serious." Murray asked Kubrick, "Why did they have to fake it? Why would they have to do that?" Kubrick said, "Because it is impossible to get there." Murray then asked, "Has it been hard hiding this secret for so long?" Kubrick then answered by saying, "Well, it was easy for me, because I didn't think a whole lot about the morality of it. But over the years I could see that Neil Armstrong was ashamed of what he was a part of. I could see he was very bothered by it all. I had to come clean for him and all the others living under this light for so long. The fact is, I filmed the entire thing." So here we are heading into 2019, and the question still remains. Did the US actually land a man on the moon? In spite of the many fishy elements associated with the moon landing, most Americans still have faith in NASA being on the up and up. Only around 6% of the population does not believe in moonwalkers, according to a Gallup poll published in 1999. But as it turns out, aeronautics officials in other countries are also very skeptical. Russia apparently has their own doubts about America's so-called manned moon landings, and remains doubtful that the US government actually pulled it off, as they have claimed for the past several decades. And they now plan to prove it, or in this case, to possibly dispute it. According to a report from the Associated Press this past November 2018, Dmitry Rogozin, head of Russia's Roscosmos space agency, posted a video, saying the country was preparing to launch a mission to confirm whether Americans had ever been to the moon. The mission is set for 2030. Rogozin said, "We have set this objective to fly to the moon and verify whether the US has been there or not." The Russian agency had appeared to be smirking and shrugging while answering the question. But conspiracies surrounding NASA's moon missions are common in Russia. In 2015, a former spokesperson for the Russian Investigative Committee called for an investigation into the NASA moon landings. Vladimir Markin penned in an op-ed at the time that an investigation could reveal new insights into the landings between 1969 and 1972. In a Moscow Times translation of the op-ed, Markin claimed that an international probe could explain the disappearance of film footage from the original moon landing in 1969, and the whereabouts of the lunar rocks that were said to have been brought back to Earth. He said, "We are not contending that they did not fly to the moon, and simply made a film claiming they had landed. But all of these scientific, or perhaps cultural artifacts are part of the legacy of humanity, and their disappearance without a trace is a common loss to us all, if they ever did exist. An investigation will reveal what really happened." So it would certainly seem Russia is not buying the whole moon landing story anymore either. Could it be they have been given the runaround one too many times on landing information from NASA, that now they just don't believe it even happened themselves? Or have the conspiracy theories gotten to them? One way or another, it seems we will all have to wait until 2030 to find out what really happened. Or at least what Russia finds and decides to share with all of us. So, what do you believe? Did America really land a man on the moon? Or was it all really just one small light to humanity, and one giant deception to all of mankind? Let us know what you think below. We always want to know what you have to say.
This has been The Confidential Report. For even more stories like this one, make sure to subscribe to our channel today. And please show your support by clicking the like button on this video. For even more stories and news you deserve to know the truth about, follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for watching The Confidential Report.